James had always been known for his ambition. As a kid, he was the one who could never stop dreaming. He often thought about running his own business, creating something meaningful that would not only give him financial freedom but also allow him to make a difference in the world. But here he was at 28, stuck in the same job he had been in for 5 years, still dreaming but not moving any closer to his goals. James worked for a tech company, and on the surface, everything seemed perfect. He had a decent salary, a steady routine, and a good reputation at work. But deep down he felt restless. Every night, he'd lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what could have been. He wanted more than just a paycheck. He wanted to build something of his own. Yet, every time he sat down to work on his business idea, something always distracted him. Social media, the latest Netflix series, friends asking to hang out. There was always something pulling him away from what mattered most. One night, after an exhausting day at work, James found himself sitting in front of his computer, trying to force himself to work on his business plan. He had carved out an hour of his evening for it, but instead of getting to work, his mind kept wandering. His phone buzzed with notifications, and before he knew it, he had spent 20 minutes scrolling through Instagram. Then a text from a friend popped up, and soon enough he was chatting away about the weekend plans. He'd tell himself, "I'll work on it later," but later always became tomorrow, and then tomorrow turned into next week. As the weeks passed, his business idea remained just that, an idea. No progress. James was frustrated, but also deeply ashamed of himself. He had the passion, the ideas, the skills, and the resources, but he lacked one crucial thing: self-discipline. It wasn't like he didn't try. He had the drive. He really did. But the distractions, the temptations to procrastinate kept getting in the way. That's when everything started to change for James, when he stumbled across a video late one night. The video featured an older man who had built a thriving business in his 50s after spending decades working in corporate jobs. The man spoke candidly about his journey and how he struggled to find success. But the key to his transformation, he said, was learning the art of self-discipline. The man shared that when he first started his business, he didn't have a mentor, and he certainly didn't have the resources he needed. What he did have, however, was the determination to get up every day and stick to his plan, no matter how small the steps seemed. The older man's words hit James like a thunderbolt. It wasn't that James wasn't capable or smart. It was that he hadn't mastered the basic skill of sticking with something long enough to see results. Discipline wasn't just about avoiding distractions. It was about taking action every single day, even when motivation was low and even when the task seemed overwhelming. Inspired by the video, James decided he would change his approach. That night, he sat down and made a decision. He would commit to working on his business plan for just 1 hour every day, no matter what. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he figured that if he could just start with small, manageable chunks of time, he could build the momentum he needed to stay consistent. The first few days were challenging. Every evening after his workday ended, James felt the temptation to scroll through his phone or binge-watch the latest show. But each time he remembered the older man's story and pushed through. Instead of giving in to distractions, James turned off his phone, closed all unnecessary tabs on his computer, and forced himself to focus for just 1 hour. The first week was the hardest, and he caught himself wanting to quit more than once. But he didn't. By the second week, he began to notice something subtle but powerful. He wasn't feeling as overwhelmed. In fact, he started looking forward to his evening work sessions. Days turned into weeks, and James slowly started to build a routine. 1 hour a day became 2 hours. What began as a small, daily commitment turned into something much bigger. He found himself finishing his business plan, developing his product idea, and even taking the first steps toward marketing. The more he practiced discipline, the more natural it became. By the time he had his product ready for launch, he felt more confident than ever before. James had learned that self-discipline wasn't about doing everything perfectly or forcing himself into an intense, rigid schedule. It was about making a promise to himself, no matter how small, and sticking to it. He learned that success doesn't come from waiting for the perfect time or the perfect conditions. It comes from showing up consistently, even on the days when it's difficult or when progress feels slow. Now, as James reflects on his journey, he realizes how much he's grown, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a person. The business he built didn't happen overnight, but it wouldn't have happened at all if he hadn't made self-discipline a priority. It was the small, consistent actions he took each day that eventually led to the big changes. Self-discipline is the secret ingredient to success, and it's often the difference between those who dream and those who do. If you want to achieve your goals, whether it's launching a business, getting fit, or mastering a new skill, it's not about relying on bursts of motivation or waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making small, disciplined choices every single day. Think about James's story. He wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't born with a special gift. What set him apart was his commitment to developing the habit of self-discipline. And that's what can set you apart too. Success is not some distant dream. It's built from the consistent actions you take, even when you don't feel like it. The key to self-discipline is understanding that it's a skill you can cultivate just like any other. It's not about avoiding distractions entirely, but about learning how to stay focused on what matters most. And when you slip up, don't beat yourself up. Simply get back on track and keep going. Life will always present distractions, but the ability to push through and remain consistent will be what ultimately leads you to your goals. If you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, start small. Pick one goal that matters to you, and commit to taking action toward it every single day. It doesn't matter if you only work on it for 15 minutes a day, it's the consistency that counts. Over time, those 15 minutes will add up, and you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish. James's journey is proof that self-discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about taking those small steps forward, no matter how difficult, and trusting that they'll eventually lead you to success. And the best part? Every time you stay disciplined, you build a stronger version of yourself. One who knows that success is not just about dreaming, but about doing. So take the first step today. Your future self will thank you for it.